Hello and welcome to this edition of Interview. In this episode, we're joined by David Benedek, who is the CEO and Creative Director of BDK Parfum. David, thank you so much for joining us. Now, you're a third-generation perfume maker. Your grandparents arrived in Paris from Transylvania in the 1950s. Tell me about their story.
Wow, that's a long story to tell. Actually, yeah, that's true. My grandparents from my father's side, they were born in Transylvania, and they came with my father in the late 50s in Paris. At the basic, my grandfather, he used to be a lawyer, but then when they came to Paris, they opened a perfumery shop. And actually, my parents still own the shop today, so I really grew up surrounded by perfume, and actually that's how my love for perfume came.
And this is in the Palais-Royale area of Paris, yes? Why has that been integral to, your family story, your career?
Because Palais-Royale is something that is really important to me. I really grew up in the Palais-Royale, I used to live a little bit outside of Paris, but during all my holidays, I used to have my parents at the shop. So Palais-Royale remains a big source of inspiration for me.
Do you think you were always destined to follow in their footsteps?
It was not that clear at the beginning,
You studied economics originally,
yes,
didn't you?
Exactly. Yeah, because actually I always loved perfume, but I didn't know that I really wanted to do that to build my life. But actually, when I saw that people were ready to go with perfume from niche brand, as BDK is, I thought to myself, okay, maybe you can do something in perfumery.
Now tell me, what are the steps to creating that perfect perfume?
There are many steps, actually. First of all, you have to be driven by passion. Yeah. I think you really have to do this for the good reason. And me, it was really my passion since I was very young. And I'm so glad today that I can work in perfumery. But when you imagine a smell, when you imagine a scent, it takes time. And I used to do a lot of paintings when I was younger. So when I create my perfume, I always think about texture and color. And then I'm thinking about the message I want to deliver to my customer.
Can you talk me through the kind of more technical, because you've got your top notes, the different base notes, how do you mix it all together and get it right?
Oh, actually, it takes time, It's like when you're cooking, you have to build your own recipe, right? Yeah. So you try, and then you have to go far to come back a little bit. And depending on the mood I want to express in a perfume, I'm trying different combinations with the perfumer, and I'm looking after the formula, if it's well blended, if it's well balanced, and actually this takes time.
But people talk about the olfactory universe. Is that about sense of smell? Tell me about that.
Olfactory universe, I would say that it's first of all about the different olfactory direction that you can take to create a perfume. There are so many directions, and I think in perfumery there is no true. It really depends on you and what you want to express, It's like painting finally, The painter is only the one who knows when the painting is finished, right? Yeah. So for the perfume, it's the same.
How powerful is our sense of smell and how important is it to everyday life?
Oh, I think it's super important, Like I'm someone who needs to smell everything, For me, it's really part of is like I see things, I smell things, It's as important as the view. So I really need that to be balanced in my life. So it's part of my life every day.
So why do smells trigger emotions and memories?
Because actually it's technique. In our brain, we have a part that helps to keep memory of the smell since we are very, very young, We say usually that the memory of the smell begins after 2 to 3 years old. So you see how young we can be to remember the smell.
Do you have a personal favorite ingredient or smell that you like to use when you're coming up with your perfumes?
Yeah, as I told you, I'm someone who is really curious about perfumery. So at BDK Parfum, we like to explore different olfactory direction. And to explore this different olfactory direction, at the end, you have to keep an harmony between all the creation. So there are common raw materials that I like to use in my perfume, like, for example, sandalwood, like vanilla. I love to use a lot of musk to make the people even more sensual. So yes, this is important for me.
And I guess oud, which is something that's very synonymous with this part of the world. You know, we're in Dubai, and we get a lot of sense of that. Do you enjoy using oud?
Yes, I love to use oud, but there are so many ways to express it. So I did one creation. It was one of my first creation because I love oud wood since I'm very, very young, and oud wood is something very symbolic, you know. And I have one creation. The name is Oud Abramad, and it's a very texture, smoky oud wood.
How do you find the market here in the Middle East very different to your European clients?
Completely.
In what way? Tell me.
So here in the Middle East, you know, perfume is really part of their education, you know, and people here, they buy perfume. They need many perfume, you know, because they are in love with that, and for them it's a very natural gesture to put perfume on themselves. So I think it's amazing how people here are curious about perfume and how they have such big collection of perfume at their places.
So the global market for perfumes is expected to grow to 53 billion euros by 2027. That's huge business. What do you think is driving that market?
I think, especially after COVID, you know, I think people now are taking much more care about themselves, you know, and they really focus on what can bring them joy, you know, and also comfort. And I think perfume is part of the game finally, and that's why maybe people are more focused on perfume than before. That's what maybe I can tell, you know? Yeah.
You're based in France, and I believe France pretty much drives the European market. Have you got any ambitions to set up shop here more permanently, or more of a central base here in the Middle East?
So actually, it's a good question. Thank you for asking. But actually, we are opening our first BDK flagship store in Paris in May. Right, so it's a big step for a brand. For the brand, it's a milestone, I would say. And for me, it's really important to be strong in my market. You know, if BDK will be strong in France, then it will be strong in the world. And I think that it's really important as a brand to be strong in your market. You know, and to first talk to your customer in your country, then for talking to the customer in the other parts of the world.
You mentioned that obviously you're a luxury brand. How do you compete with the big names like Christian Dior, Chanel? You know, where do you sit?
We are not playing in the same category. No, not at all.
Not yet.
Not yet, maybe. But you know, this is not my focus. You know, I really created perfume because it's my passion. You know, and I'm really focusing on the creativity of the brand. You know, so I'm not comparing myself or BDK to big brands because we are not on the same level, and also we don't have the same approach, I would say, you know. We don't have the same challenges, I would say.
We touched on COVID and how it affected every industry. Did that see you having to adopt your business model a little bit? You know, how did that play out for you?
Yes. Actually, I think that people during the COVID, they were very isolated, but that the social media was a great way to connect people, you know. And actually, I really chose in my strategy to be very connected to our customer. That's why I developed the relationship with our customer through social media very strongly and permanently.
So tell me, where do you stand on the synthetic versus natural ingredient debate?
Wow, that's a really big debate. Yeah, everybody wants to talk about it. I think that you have amazing synthetic raw materials that cost even more than natural raw materials. And I think to do beautiful perfume, you really need the two. You know, synthetic molecular helps the natural one to express themselves in a formula. So at BDK, I use both natural and synthetic raw materials, especially the musk. We have amazing synthetic musk that helps the fragrance to bloom and blow out.
You've just launched your new fragrance, Amber Safrano. You know, where do you see the future of BDK going?
Oh, that's a big question. I would say that BDK Parfum is just at the beginning of this amazing adventure. I would love to keep going with the creation process that I have with my brand, and that to keep this strong connection that I have with our customer all around the world. I would love to launch beautiful new perfumes for the next year, for sure, but I would like to extend the brand as a lifestyle brand, you know.
Did your grandparents or parents give you any key piece of advice that you've always taken with you?
Yes, I think they taught me to do this with honesty and authenticity. And that's the values I'm trying to keep with me.
David Benedek, thank you so much for talking to us on Interview today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.